Ever wake up to a neighbor on her hands and knees with a plastic ruler measuring your lawn blade by blade? In today's story, Oak Creek Estates HOA President Brenda turns my yard into her personal laboratory. Follow along as I face fines, dog chases, a hostile HOA meeting, and then hatch a plan involving poison ivy, legal loopholes, and a battle of wills that ends with a 7-foot cedar wall and a peace treaty written in ink and bark. Like and subscribe for more. I discovered how absolute the HOA's power was one Tuesday at 7:14 a.m. I was standing in my kitchen with a lukewarm mug of Colombian roast when I saw Brenda squatting in the center of my front yard, her yellow ruler plunged into the dirt. The sun had just lifted over Oak Creek Estates, illuminating every perfectly trimmed blade of fescue, every plastic flamingo, every Prius hum. And yet here was Brenda, visor low, sunglasses hiding her eyes, gauging my grass height like diffusing a bomb. She pressed a blade between her thumb and forefinger, peered at it fiercely, then pulled out a tiny notebook from her back pocket and made a furious scribble. That black-bound book was the HOA's ledger of violations. Trash bins left out, holiday lights strung past January 1st, and now, according to Brenda, 3.5-inch grass when the bylaws allowed a maximum of 3 inches and recommended 2.5. I glared at the window until my dog Buster, 90 pounds of lovable wreckage, let out a low woof and thumped his tail against the hardwood floor. "Don't bark," I warned. "She'll fine us for noise too." I set down my coffee and opened the front door. The air smelled of fresh mulch and entitlement. Brenda rose, dusted off her capri pants, adjusted her visor, and greeted me with the clipped formality reserved for errant students. "Good morning, Mr. Miller." "Call me Jack," I said, stepping onto the driveway. She ignored me. "Precision is key to property values," she intoned, tapping the ruler. "Reports have been made." I surveyed the silent cul-de-sac. The only witnesses were Henderson's plastic pink flamingos. They were in Cabo. I'd checked social media. "Reports from whom? The wind?" "The community sets the standard," she replied. "Board enforces it. Your grass is 312 inches. Section 4, paragraph 2. Maximum is 3 inches, optimum 212. She lowered her sunglasses to peer at me. Her blue eyes glittered without humor. "It looks unkempt, suggests a lack of pride." "A lack of pride?" I echoed. "I mowed 4 days ago. It rained Sunday. Grass grows when it rains." She shook her head. "Nature is no excuse. If you can't comply, approved landscapers can do it twice weekly." She tore out a pink slip from her pad. "Courtesy notice. Fix it by tomorrow evening or $50 fine." She added, "Your trash bin's visible through the garage window. Must be concealed. Put up a curtain." She turned on her heel and marched away, ruler bobbing. I stared at the slip. It felt like a declaration of war. I went inside, locked the door, and leaned against the wood, exhaling. Buster trotted over, tail wagging. "She's relentless," I murmured, scratching behind his ears. "But the grass is just an appetizer. The backyard is the main course." My lot was 1/3 of an acre, but invisible property lines made fences taboo. Oak Creek was open-air living, which meant I could peek into Brenda's kitchen and she into mine. Buster bolted out the sliding glass door, saw a rabbit, and charged across the yard into Brenda's hydrangeas. I yanked the door open. "Buster!" He stopped mid-sprint beside her bird bath, muddy paws proud. I hauled him inside before she witnessed the trespass that could mean a nuisance citation and possibly forced removal of my rescue dog. "We need a fence," I told him, "a big one." I called Mikey, a contractor built like a vending machine, who arrived at noon in a gravel-gargling Ford F-250. I led him around back to survey the space and pointed out Brenda's house, where she stood on her deck cleaning her sliding door. "I need the Cedar Fortress package," I said. 6-foot board-on-board cedar, steel posts inside the wood, wrought board at the base, cap top, no sight lines. Mikey sketched plans, tapped the table. "Solid? No gaps?" "None." "Cost?" He winced. 12 grand installed, maybe 13 with gate hardware. I winced back. When can we start? Next week, he said, but you need ARC approval. I patted my folder of survey, elevations, material samples. I have the meeting tonight. It's a safety fence. He looked me in the eye. They care about control, not safety. Keep cool. That evening, I walked into the Oak Creek Community Center's heritage room, lemon-waxed floors, stale coffee air, dressed in slacks and a button-down to look responsible. 5 board members sat behind a folding table, fossilized Stan napping, Karen scrolling an iPad, 2 bored dads, and Brenda in the center, her tight smile unused. Agenda item 4, Brenda announced into a silent mic. Jack Miller, application, for structural modification. She pronounced it like malignant tumor. I approached the wobbly podium. Good evening. I request approval for a perimeter fence, 6-foot cedar privacy fence, professionally stained to match our woodland aesthetic. Brenda scoffed. Cedar? She said. We reviewed your digital submission. Denied. The hum of the air conditioner grew loud. On what grounds? I asked. Section 3. Approved materials are black aluminum or wrought iron, 80% transparency, she recited. Solid wood creates a compound effect, aggressive, isolating, un-neighborhood-like. I bristled. A fence literally says, keep out. That's its function. She leaned forward. We value visual flow, shared green space, waving to neighbors from the patio. I admitted I preferred coffee in my underwear without an audience. We could consider 4-foot black aluminum, she offered. My dog jumps 4 feet. That's useless. If you have nothing to hide, Brenda shrugged. Besides, wood warps and grays. It's premium cedar, I pleaded. We're done, Brenda said, stamping denied with a rubber thud. But then she smiled. We encourage living barriers, hedges, vines, shrubs. Nature is the true divider. I sat down, stunned. Dead silence. Then I took a breath. Living barriers? No height restrictions on plants? She laughed. You can't tell a tree how tall to grow. I nodded. You've just educated me. I'll remember that. Good night. I left the room with the board's muttered advice still ringing. Try hydrangeas or boxwoods. They're polite. Back home, I didn't sleep. I paced the backyard with Buster on leash, reviewing the HOA covenants PDF I'd downloaded, page 52, section 4.2. Native flora encouraged, living fences, hedges, and organic barriers are permitted and do not encroach on neighbors, provided the species are indigenous. Page 86, section 8.4. Trellises, wire mesh, and arbors used solely for plant support are not classified as fences and require no approval if obscured by vegetation within 12 months. My eyes lit up. If I built an agricultural trellis and planted fast-growing native vines, I'd be gardening, not fencing. Native, organic encouraged, but what plant? Virginia creeper was too sparse, wisteria invasive, trumpet vine pretty. Then I saw Toxicodendron radicans, poison ivy. I clicked the university extension site, native ecological value high, birds, insects, growth habit, up to 10 feet per season. Not listed as a noxious weed in residential zones. It was perfect. Encouraged nature, unstoppable wall, legally native vegetation. I just needed a trellis, signs, and a waiver to cover my liability. At noon, the next day I met Saul Goodman, not his real name, in a greasy diner. Over runny eggs, I laid out the plan, post and wire trellis, poison ivy, legal covenants. He chewed thoughtfully. Strictly speaking, you're okay, but tort law means if a kid touches it, you could be sued. You need warnings and keep it on your land. Set it 6 inches inside your line. Put up big danger signs. Toxic plants do not touch. And don't trim the ivy on her side. Managing it makes you liable. He added, buy from a native restoration nursery, keep receipts, make it scientific. I shook his hand. Mikey and I drove to Appalachian Native Restoration 10 miles down a gravel road. Doc, bearded, earth-stained, led me to a whitewashed greenhouse. I call it the gatekeeper, he whispered among flats of glossy baby sprouts. 30% more urushiol than wild stock. With fertilizer, it'll surge a foot a week. I ordered 20 flats and signed a waiver. Thursday at dawn, while Brenda was at a regional HOA summit, Mikey's crew arrived. No concrete footers, stakes pounded directly into earth. 10-foot agricultural steel posts, 6 feet above ground, spaced every 4 feet, set 6 inches inside the line. They attached green welded wire mesh taut as drumhead. By 1 p.m., the trellis stretched end to end. Then Doc's Poison Ivy Series A went in. I donned a Tyvek suit, goggles, respirator, planted 100 vines 12 inches apart, wound their tendrils around the bottom wire, and fed them rocket fuel fertilizer. Finally, I mounted bright yellow signs every 10 feet. Danger, toxic plants, severe allergic reaction, do not touch, private property. I stripped off the suit, showered twice, and cracked a beer. At 5:30, the Lexus glided in. Brenda's garage door closed. 10 minutes later, she stepped onto her patio, wine glass in hand, disinfecting her sliding door with Windex. She froze at the fence. She squinted, advanced, read the sign, and backed away like she'd seen a rattlesnake. I waved cheerfully from my yard. "Evening, Brenda. I thought I'd try a living wall, native botanical barrier." She shrieked, "This is a violation! What is this eyesore?" "Trellis for active cultivation, section 8.4, I shouted back. "Toxicodendron radicans, native, bird-friendly, guaranteed privacy." She spun, bellowing into her phone. I grinned and went inside. A summons came certified mail. Emergency HOA hearing Saturday at 10. I texted Saul. "Me? No, you're the reasonable one." Friday, I printed one folder, identical to the one Brenda had denied, but now for a 7-foot cedar fence. Saturday morning, the community center basement buzzed like a disturbed hive. Neighbors gossiped. "That's the poison ivy guy." I took my seat at the accused's table. Brenda, coated in pink calamine, her face a map of rash, sat center stage, her one good eye twitching. Stan looked exhausted. Her lawyer, Mr. Hines, tapped a pen. Stan called the room to order. "We're here to address the biological hazard at 404 Maple Drive." Brenda hissed, "Biological weapon?" "No," I replied, "a garden. You trespassed with clippers and violated private property." Hines interjected, "This is a public nuisance per city code." "Not if contained," I countered. "I have confirmation. It's legal." Murmurs rippled. Stan pleaded, "Please, the ivy must go." I leaned back. "Removal isn't cheap. Disturb it badly, you'll aerosolize the oil. ER visit for half of you. It requires professional abatement. I have a quote, $15,000. Gasps. "Since you're forcing removal, you'll cover it," I said. Brenda spat. "He planted it. He pays." I stood and approached the board. I placed the cedar permit on their table. "Or you sign this now. Irrevocable approval for a 7-foot cedar privacy fence. I remove the ivy at my expense, hire hazmat, clear the lot. Otherwise, I keep the living wall and release your video of Brenda measuring grass to local news. Channel 5 loves HOA horror stories." Stan's shoulders slumped. He signed. Brenda's one eye teared, the seal stamped. I held the permit like holy writ. Monday crew in yellow hazmat suits arrived. Neighbors sipped lemonade from lawn chairs as they bagged vines, treated soil, and scrubbed mesh. 2 days later, the ivy was gone. The wire skeleton stood empty. Mikey returned, marveled at the signed 7-foot permit. "Let's build your fortress." No one complained over the saws and nail guns, too terrified of a poison ivy reprise. In a week, they erected board-on-board western red cedar, rotboard, Steel posts hidden inside, copper caps, overlapping planks, zero gaps, 7 feet of silent solidarity. I watched the final board go up, blocking Brenda's view forever. I stepped into the cool shade, inhaled that cedar scent, rich, warm, triumphant. "It's not a wall," I told Mikey. "It's a peace treaty." 3 months on, I sip coffee in my boxers. Buster chases his ball against the fence with a satisfying thud, and Brenda scuttles past with her ruler, her stride shrunken. I haven't spoken to her since. Last week I spotted a tiny ivy sprout beneath the fence on my side, one survivor. I nearly yanked it, then paused. Nature finds a way. I left it. If you want more wild HOA tales, like and subscribe for more.